Welcome to the Vault XL. Happy Hump Day, everybody. Hope you all are staying warm. Happy holidays to the viewing audience. Please check my community page for said updates to storylines, news stories, and polls. Tuohys claimed $15 million extortion by Michael Oher. Text revealed. And also, I'm bringing you news updates. But let's start with some news updates pertaining to Gabby Patito's family members. The murder that took place out west. What her then boyfriend told his family. Did he tell them the truth that he had murdered Gabby? What do they know? Does this family have any rights to suing them? Will they get a civil lawsuit? Get payment? We will see. Justice Smet has been denied an appeal. Will he go to jail? Will he do the remainder of his sentence? It's not a long time. I don't know what all the crying and fussing is about. He owes restitution and fines, which he owes the city of Chicago, in my opinion. And Mrs. Ferretter, the mother of the boy that was locked in a box in a garage down in Florida, she claims to the court she doesn't have any money. So is that a personal problem? I say it is. Why are you telling the court you don't have any money? Do they think you have money? Is this about needing a lawyer or retaining a lawyer? I don't know, but we're going to get down to business on these said storylines. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. Once again, happy holidays to the viewing audience. Let's start off with the Patitos and the laundries. What a mess we have here. WFLA News Channel 8 is the source.
Some startling new details emerged from the already shocking Gabby Patito murder case. The parents of Brian Laundrie have offered information about a phone call with their son that was made about 2 days after the alleged strangulation. 8 on Your Side investigator Walt Buteau is here with that story.
Jen, Brian Laundrie admitted killing Patito in a suicide note, but there's been scrutiny focused on his parents about what they knew and when they knew it. Gabby Patito and Brian Laundrie were seen alive but upset on Moab, Utah police body camera video during this August 12, 2021 stop for a domestic violence check. Just over a month later, the 22-year-old's body was found in Wyoming. Chris and Roberta Laundrie said they talked to Brian after Patito was reported missing, but we've heard virtually nothing about what was discussed.
We have a statement.
Until now. Pat Riley, the Patito's attorney in their civil lawsuit against the Laundries, has revealed new information. According to Riley, during a deposition for the civil case, the Laundries described what was said to be a frantic phone call with Brian a couple of days after Patito was allegedly murdered by strangulation. During that August 29, 2021 phone call, the Laundries said Brian told them Gabby was, quote, gone, and that he needed a lawyer. Riley says the Laundries did not admit knowing Patito was murdered, only that their son said she was gone.
Doing some morning yoga.
But Riley tells us that conversation is a direct conflict to the Laundrie statement during the search for Patito several days after the phone call, that they hoped she would be reunited with her family.
They started suspecting around the 12th, I think it was, or started to have concerns when they finally reported her as a missing person. So is she alive or isn't she alive? Those are certainly thoughts in their head, but they have hope. And when this statement is made, it just elevates their hope.
The Patitos are suing the Laundries and their attorney, Stephen Bertolino, for alleged intentional infliction of emotional distress, claiming they knew Gabby was dead, but still offered hope to her family. Bertolino declined an offer to comment about the deposition. The Laundries' attorney has not responded yet to her request for comment. And the civil case is scheduled to go on trial in May. A motion that could force Bertolino to reveal what Laundrie told him is scheduled for later this month.
Well, will he tell Mr. Bertolino? Because naturally he is an attorney and he knows not to talk and tell anything about what was told to him in confidence, what he assumed, what his advice was, because it's attorney-client privilege. But he is also in the lawsuit. So how is this going to fare? Do these people have the right to sue them? You hear information in this commentary that is contradictory to the Laundrie saying they hope she's found. They hope she's reconnects with her family if they knew that their son had harmed her, because they are never going to admit, because naturally they're being sued. So they would be a fool to admit, yes, our son called us and told us he had killed your daughter, and we instructed him to come home, do this, do this, do this. But you have to show proof that they knew after he murdered the young lady. Number two, they are never going to admit that their son confided in them. But they had to have known something went awry out there, because why would he need a lawyer? The two comments don't go together. She's gone, I need a lawyer. So what did they say to him after he said that? What do you mean you need a lawyer? What do you mean she's gone? Gone where? How long has she been gone? What happened? Did you two fight, fuss, cuss, beat each other up? What happened? Why do you need a lawyer? For what? Why do you need a lawyer? For what? See where I'm going with this? It makes no logical sense. And the average person who has a brain would think, okay, what did you do to her? Did they ask him what did he do to her? Did they ask him what happened? Did he tell the full story of what happened, or his version? And in the end, that's all it is, a dead man's version. We fuss, we fight, the police got involved, I was still mad, we separated, blah, 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 I was still mad, and then she said something, she did something, and I strangled her. I left her for dead out in the wilderness desert. BS. Should these people be suing? Because as I said, you have to bring forward a receipt that they knew. He writes a suicide letter to the dead man, found in a swamp, disintegrated naturally from wildlife, exposure to water. What happened out there between the two? You see, this story between Gabby and Brian is a cautionary tale of why you have to run like hell when things go terribly, terribly wrong. We as people become fixers, attempt at fixing, but in the end, you can't fix anyone. You can plead, cry, moan, stomp, threaten, lash out, become violent, verbally abusive. It does not mean that they will change. And I think these two knew they were incompatible. And when I watched this video of them in the desert, out where they were, I don't know why two people at this age thought it was okay to be riding around in a van, living in a van. You see, what other people do may not be good for you. I think that's obvious with this storyline. I thought it was strange, looking at the van, two young people riding around in the middle of nowhere, going from state to state. For one, that's dangerous. Two, are you actually mentally equipped to live that type of life? So you have to ask yourself all those questions. Whatever choices you make in life, you have to ask yourself, is this for me? Is this person right for me? Do I have the tolerant level to deal with this person? This person doesn't seem to care for me, like me. Why am I still hanging around? See, you have to own your part. Naturally, no one has the right to kill you because of a disagreement or an argument or a threat but as far as threats, it depends on what the threat is. If the person felt threatened, we hear that a lot in murder cases. I felt threatened. We hear a lot of that with law enforcement and civilians. But when they had that infamous fight that went viral, the video clip from the body cam from the officers, we get a glimpse into the lives of these people. Young people, as I said, traveling the roads, disagreeing, scratch marks here and there on both participants. She's crying. He seems half calm. But see, that's the whole point. That's how you're supposed to behave in front of law enforcement. The gist of the story is what happened beforehand and what happened after the body cams went down. Allegedly, they separated, but there was still some ill feelings. And that's the whole point. Once the police is involved, people become more irate. And you've heard this with domestic situations. Once a person calls the police, files a restraining order, so on and so forth, the person becomes more angry. And what should have happened is the obvious. He should have went home. But naturally, she didn't want to stay on the road by herself because that defeats the purpose of this so-called van life with my mate. But sometimes you have to say to yourself, this isn't working. And it wasn't working. And that's why you now have this jacked up story of who said what to whom, who confessed what to whom, and who knew about what was said, and a lawsuit. Will they win? Gabby's parents. Will they win monies from these people? What exactly did this man tell his parents about the death of Gabby Patito? Did he confess and tell the truth? Were they fighting, arguing? She said something. Maybe she didn't say or do anything. Maybe he just looked there and decided, I'm done with this, tired of her. But as I said, the evidence was there all along. Whether he ever called his family to say he needed a lawyer, she's not here. When he got back with her van, that should have been an eye-opener for all involved. Why is her van here with you and she's not with you and the van? Who's going to let somebody take their van? And they were allegedly all the way across the country, Pacific Northwest, then come back. The guy comes back without the lady, but he has her vehicle. That was suspect right there. And then all the chaos that ensued thereafter when he returned. Parents trying to reach out to them. The parents, Laundrie's deleting them on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. The signs were there that, yes, something nefarious happened out west. And Mr. Laundrie was the participant, the suspect. And instead of him being an adult, non-cowardly, he should have just turned himself in and told the truth. We had an altercation. I hit her, strangled her, whatever, beat her, whatever. Just told the truth, but he didn't want to do that. He came back crying to his mommy and daddy. They had their last hurrah out there in a park, and then he went on out to kill himself. How noble. And then had the audacity to confess it in a journal. Luck of the draw, they were able to retrieve it from the water swamp. And then there's the flip side of running and walking away from a jacked up situation, relationship. The person still could hurt you. They're mad. They're angry. You left them. You won't talk to them. Won't answer their calls. So now they're stalking you, calling your phone, texting. So there's really no surefire answer to leaving someone alone, because in the end, it's a personal decision how a person is going to deal with you. So she could have left him, cut him off, and he still could have hurt her, harmed her. She could have told him out there, hey, I want you to go, leave. I'll take you to the airport. I'll finish this trip alone. So we don't know what was said. And in the end, you're only getting his version in the journal. I don't know everything that was said in the journal. And then you have to decide if what he even wrote was the truth. Because in the end, that's all you have. A dried out journal, a clip of them being talked to by law officials, and the remains found. That's it. You don't have her version. You don't have her conversation. I'd like to know, did she text anyone while on the trip? Texting via iPad, phone, to say, hey, things aren't going well. We're not getting along. We're fighting. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Did she ever text anybody what was going on? Did she call anybody to say what was going on? This trip is bad. It's not working out. I'm not happy. He's not happy. And we had heard that she was possibly the instigator on that trip that led to the police being involved. They're bickering back and forth over God knows what. Probably nothing important. But emotions run high when it's continual of argument, nitpicking, don't know who's in the right, who's in the wrong, but naturally should have never led to murder. He should have just came on back home. He should have left her there. And it would have been on her how she decided to navigate her trip. Because I do believe these two have been in that situation before. They obviously did not get along beforehand, because you just don't wake up one day and murder somebody and leave them there and bring their vehicle back across the United States and don't say anything to their parents. And that's what was so cold about the situation. His parents never said anything to her parents. He never said anything to her parents. They gathered almost as if they knew he was going to kill himself, which is the craziest thing to even comprehend. And then here comes the news channels, YouTubers, messy folks blowing the story up at an all-time high. My advice to anybody, just bail out. Now, naturally, you have no control over what a person will do when you say, I don't want to be with you anymore. I don't want to talk. I don't want to live with you. You just have to pray that they won't harm you. But I think these kids had been in turmoil for some time. And perhaps had she left him, because she had family on the East Coast, she could have easily moved back to the East Coast or anywhere. And that would have been the end of their relationship. Because I doubt that he would have chased her, went to look for her. And if she feared for her safety while living with him in Florida at his parents' house, she could have easily just said, hey, I'm going to the market. I'll be right back, and drive off into the sunset. And if she wanted to text him to say, hey, I decided not to return. It's not working out. I got to go live my best life. She possibly would be alive today. But we would never know that because he murdered her out there in the West. Over what, I have no idea. What the argument about, disagreement, ill will, ill feelings, I have no idea. But the fact that they were stopped, talked to, shows you they were not getting along, and then it eventually led to her death. That's my update pertaining to Patito Laundrie family. What happened out west? What did he tell his family? Should these people be suing the family and Bertolino, their attorney? Did they have knowledge that the girl was dead and never told the people that she was dead? Why didn't they turn their son in if he did confide in them before he died? And if there's proof, will they be liable? Not just by monetary, paying money to the family, but also legally, lawfully rather. Should they be sued? Number one, I'll put that on the poll. And also, if there's some proof, should they also be arrested for having knowledge that the girl was dead and never telling anyone or law enforcement? I got a feeling they knew, even if he never said it to them directly that he killed her, they knew when he came back with her van. They knew when they never saw her again or heard from her. When the family said they never heard or saw her, they knew. And they should have told their son to turn himself in. That would be the right thing to do. But as you see, as I've said before with these type of stories, people are enablers. That's why you really can't judge stories when you hear crazy stuff later down the road, 10 years, 20 years later, and people, because, women are judged very harshly about sexual assault, children being molested. First thing people say is, why are you coming out now telling that story? Why are you holding that? You holding it all those years and now you want money, blah, blah, blah. Well, to me, it's no different than this story here. What's the difference? Somebody knew something and didn't say something, allegedly. Because that's the point. People hold other people's secrets. And they don't tell. They take it to the grave with them. Sometimes they tell years later. But I don't see these people ever admitting that their son confided in them that he murdered Gabby. Because now they're being sued. So what would be the point in telling the truth? They don't want to pay these people any money. And they let them know what they thought of their daughter and them when they blocked them on Facebook, allegedly, never spoke to them again, never talked to them, never called them. You let us know. You let the world know, hey, I have no respect for you, your child, and it is what it is. We're done. They're cold, they're heartless. Nobody can tell me different. Those people didn't do anything to you. And we don't know that girl did anything to you. So why would you uphold your son and him murdering her and then cut off contact with her parents? That's some cold shit. That's what led a lot of people to believe they did know something. Because they cut the family off. And you didn't have to cut them off. You could do what most people do, lie. Oh, I don't know anything. He hasn't told us anything. Oh, I don't know where he is. He's missing. They just went cold turkey. That's my update, everybody. All right. Next update is Justice Smollett. Lord, what a mess that is. Court rejects Justice Smollett's appeal in hate crime hoax case. Court TV is the source. Gosh, what a nut. He deserves every day in jail, plus those fines. And frankly, 2.5 months in jail, 3 months in jail is nothing, considering all the resources wasted by Chicago Police Department.
I am not suicidal. Stop lying about that. I am not suicidal, and I am innocent. I could have said that I was guilty a long time ago.
And now for what's trending in true crime. You remember that very bold declaration by actor Jussie Smollett after he was convicted and sentenced, and now he's back in the headlines. His appeal to disorderly conduct, that conviction was just rejected. Now, he was released pending his appeal, but on Friday, an appellate court in Illinois upheld that former Empire star's conviction in a 2-1 decision. And that ruling stems from him being charged for lying to police about what he called a racist and homophobic attack back in 2019. Smollett was sentenced to 5 months in jail last year, but he only served 6 days of the term before he was released. So now with his case in limbo, our question this morning is, when can we expect him to actually go back to jail and serve out that 150-day sentence, if ever? Let's bring in our guest first, still in studio, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Noah Pines, and joining us now, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Sam Braverman, and Georgia's former director of the Department of Family and Children's Services, Tom Rawlings. So good to have all of you on. Sam, let me start with you. This is one of those cases where people have been watching it. It was a pretty big deal that he was released pending his appeal. What do you think happens now where he is out and his team is looking for the Supreme Court to potentially look at this case?
Well, it's always hard to get the Supreme Court of any state or the United States to join up on a case. It's always a very long shot. But this presents a pretty good argument. I like the double jeopardy argument the best, where this decision, which was a divided decision, and it's not a resounding decision like the special prosecutor claimed it was, but the argument was that there was no contract, there was no deal in place such that Mr. Smollett performed and therefore now has jeopardy attached to his case. I actually think that's a reasonable argument from the defense, and I think if they take it up to the Supreme Court, that's the best bet he's got. If that loses, then he goes back to jail.
I know it's discretionary, so the Supreme Court doesn't have to take this case. But what do you think will happen in terms of should he go back to jail now? The appellate court said, we don't want to put you in there while we're deliberating this because it could be more than 150 days, which they were right. So do you think the same thing is going to apply, or now that it's just discretionary on whether or not they're going to even review it, should he go back to jail?
Well, a lot of times you'll wait till the appeal is over. So in Georgia, once a case is on appeal, like the trial court has no more jurisdiction if you're granted an appellate bond. So the case kind of travels through the appellate jurisdiction until it gets sent back to the trial court. You don't serve your sentence. In a case like this, I would expect that they would let the appeal process go through one way or the other and then send it back to the trial court to determine when he should go into custody.
So still might have some time, and everyone will be standing by to see what the Supreme Court does, if they take it or not. Tom Rawlings, this was one of those cases that just seemed to frustrate the public, and you see he is still declaring his innocence. But what are your thoughts on the impact of this hoax on just reporting and how people feel about those who report?
Sure, Jay. I think the issue we face is that whenever there is really a miscarriage of justice, whether it is someone targeting someone on the basis of their race, or in this kind of situation where you apparently have a hoax and the person just stands by their hoax and appears to have enough funds and attorneys that they can fight it and fight it and fight it, people start to lose faith in the justice system. And when people lose faith in the justice system, how on earth can we ever expect them to serve on juries, to convict criminals, or to do what is necessary to make sure that we have a safe society? It's really a stain on our culture, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it's a difficult case, and his attorneys say they are going to keep fighting it. So we will follow closely what happened.
Exactly. Very, very good point this man made here in this commentary. Court TV is the source. You lose faith, some of us, in the system. This man has the means to afford an attorney, wrangle with the courts from 2019 up until present day. We are coming out of 23 in a little bit. So all the money that he has wasted appealing, paying these attorneys, you could have done your time in jail and been done with it. How about that? The first time they gave you wind that they did not believe your story, Mr. Smollett, the detectives, you should have confessed and said, yes, I made this up. And I believe it would have been over with. May not have even gotten any jail time. Just that initial fine, which I believe was $10,000, when the story first broke that they believed you were lying, you could have paid that money to the city of Chicago and with your eyes closed and been done with it. So you start off with a $10,000 fine that's escalating into more fees to have your attorneys navigate for you. God forbid you left Chicago, so now you got to travel back and forth perhaps. What is it all for? To say, oh, I'm right. So you willing to give up hundreds of thousands of dollars to lawyers when you know you perfected this crime. You had help by 2 associates. They admit their part in the hoax, but yet you still want to go forward and make these people look like fools, like they've done something wrong. The city of Chicago, they've done anything, because as one elderly lady once said in conversation about her own degenerate son, she said, I didn't send for you. And that's the sentiment here. No one in Chicago sent for you, sir. You just happen to be living in the city filming a TV show. But nobody sent for Justice Smollett. Checkmate. Nobody sent for your shenanigans. Lies, buffoonery, deceivery. Nobody sent for you. So all this money you're wasting paying these lawyers, you could have paid an initial fine, admitted you lied, and you could have been on your merry way. Perhaps Empire still would have kept you on. I don't know. But we will never know that, will we? Because you were one of the main characters on the TV show, and I'm sure ratings went down. And then, too, the studio has an image to maintain with its castmates on their shows, and they really don't want that type of heat. Whether you were exceptional at your job. Well, that's what people need to understand about perfecting hoax, being involved in true crime. You may have been doing a good job over there at the studio, at your accounting desk or your job at Walmart. But when you become a liability, then there is a problem. As the old saying goes, there's some smoke in the city. There'll be some smoke. And there was smoke. And as they say, where there is smoke, there is usually fire. Exactly. A big, big fire. A big line ball of fire, might I add. You did this, and you owe the city. And you could have came away with this owing, paying that money, first fine, owning what you did, and then kept it moving. And whatever happened with you and the production company, that would have been between you all. And everybody else could have kept on going on. Your name would have died down eventually, like most stories pertaining to famous people. People soon to forget about what you did. They're not dwelling on it. They're not even talking about it. And you could have let this story die, but you holding on for dear life as if you are innocent. And that's the disturbing part of the story. Besides the lie itself, is the fact that you're still holding on. Paying out money. You're not doing anything that we know of. I haven't seen you in any commercials. Football season, basketball season, I don't see you in any Bud Light commercials or wine commercials or commercials for liquor. Even the worst man, woman, at some point down the road, somebody gives them a deal to do a damn commercial. Not Jussie Smollett. You're like 1 second away from being in a Tubi movie. And God knows they have a lot of bad ones on Tubi. Low budget. No disrespect to me, just calling it as I see it. But that's where you need to be. Low budget film. Because you are definitely a good actor. I have to give you that. And that little response you gave in court a while back, I could have admitted a long time ago that I was guilty. Right. Basically, you're saying what you know you should be saying because you are guilty. Don't you find that statement interesting? I could have admitted a long time ago that I was guilty. You mean present tense. You are guilty. You are guilty. Because those guys never had to tell the truth. They only told the truth because they were seen. Little detective work, a little digging. All roads led back to you, Mr. Smollett, in your pocketbook. See the things people do for money? Get themselves wrapped up in drama. Have to worry about their citizenship, their livelihood. That's the whole purpose of them getting involved with you in the first place. Makes a couple of quick bucks so you can pull off this faux crime for whatever stupid reason. But look who's having the last laugh. You just made a fool out of yourself. And the fact that you still have people in your corner supporting you, as I said before my last live stream, there's something wrong with them because I wouldn't be supporting you. There's just certain things you just should not do. This is one of them. And you won't be the last, because as we saw with that Carly Russell mess down in Alabama, now the black folks want to jump on board with the making up fake stories, kidnap stories, being assaulted. But you know, there's a dangerous thing about crying wolf. I think most of us know this. Something bad's going to happen to you one day, and you won't have a savior. And nobody's going to believe you because 9 times out of 10, you probably won't be allowed to tell the story. And it'll be a matter of civilians want to believe what actually happened to you. Most people probably say, well, that's what he got. Had no business pulling that stunt in Chicago. Because, you know, I'm sure there are a lot of people that do not like you, Mr. Smollett. And not just because you're black or gay. Just that you're a damn liar. But just imagine somebody is racist and don't like homosexuals. That ain't nothing but old lying black gay man. Shut your mouth. You gotta be ashamed of yourself. And I'm going to keep saying this until we stop talking about your black tail. There are many people out here who want to be in the entertainment business. I, for one. And you was afforded the opportunity to be on a TV show that was liked by many people, possibly around the world, and you couldn't even do that right. You couldn't just ride that ride until you found something better to do besides Empire. You had to come up with this BS. They're not paying me my worth. If that's indeed the reason why you did it. I don't really know. I really don't care. Because there was no reason to pull this type of stunt. Because people are accosted every day for their race, for their gender. There's people actually being bashed out here for being all types of different nationalities, religious faiths, how they dress, how they look. And here you go, concocting some scheme in the dead of winter. And I do believe you picked the right time to do it. When it was ice cold outside, nothing scurrying out but a rat. Literally. Did you hear that? Literally a rat. Scurrying around in the cold, pretending to be assaulted. The real rats were in the corner looking. Look at this fool. Look at this fool right here. Trying to get these boys wrapped up in some damn drama because he mad at Empire production company ain't paying him what he think he worth. And he want to act like some white men assaulted him. You know, the rats was talking. They probably sitting in the corner eating Subway. Isn't that one of your favorite places to eat? Shut up, Angela. I said that. Yeah, the rats were talking that night. He ain't gonna get away with this. That should be a joke in Chicago. What did one rat say to the other rat about Jussie Smollett and this faux crime? He ain't gonna get away with it. You've been afforded the opportunity to even be free now. So it's 5 months in jail allegedly you're supposed to do. 3 months, 5 months, all the same to me. You need to do every day, day for day, and pay Chicago those fines and keep it moving, brother. Maybe one day somebody will favor you, give you a deal, TV role again or something. But I personally wouldn't trust you because, as I said before in my commentary pertaining to Mr. Smollett, you can't trust a liar. You know, people have funny feelings about all type of crimes, thievery, this, that, and the other. But a liar, to me, is more dangerous because you don't know who you're talking to. And they may seem so believable. Because a liar gets you wrapped up into stuff that you can't unravel. They carry bones, liars. And they can get you killed. Because we know how people navigate now. People are unhinged, they're impulsive, and they'll pop off a lie, a rumor. He said, she said, he said, you did this and you did this. He did what? Well, I got to go find him. So Justice Smollett will not be a good friend or confidant. Because you see how he threw one of the boys under the bus like he's having some type of sexual entanglement with him. He would do the same to you. That's why I always tell people, pay attention to the details of the story now. Because the pudding is there. The proof, rather, in the pudding. If he would sell one of them boys out as being locked in lip entanglement, what do you think he would do to you as a friend, sister, brother, mama? Stay woke now. He would do the same. Mr. Smollett, pay the city that money and do your jail time and quit all this shenanigans with the court system. Just stop it now, okay? Because you did wrong by the city of Chicago. And these people, detectives, went out into the cold, navigating the truth the best of their ability. And what they came back with was a lie orchestrated by you. And you need to own your part, the part you played, which is to me the biggest part because you're the one that came up with the idea. And yes, the brothers were foolish to go along with it. But Justice Smollett is the orchestrator and he needs to pay the fines and he needs to do the jail sentence. And frankly, he needs to be locked up longer than 5 months. 5 months to me is nothing. Carly Russell got, I believe, more than that. So you definitely need more time. And I don't believe in giving anybody a short sentence in jail from lying and making a false police report. Because you, as somebody said in a comment, you just gonna get that whole damn city burnt down had it been a real crime against you. And that's true. White people would have been scared to walk around Chicago if this rumor was true. Allegation was true. You're dirty, man. You're a dirty man. You're a dirty heathen. And as we have learned with true crime and fake stories, it makes it hard for people who actually call 911 with a story. I've been hurt. I've been beat up. I've been stalked. I've been kidnapped. Eyebrows go up soon as it hits the news. And what you don't want is a detective coming in thinking, oh, this is probably a lie. Which they're not supposed to have an attitude anyway. But hey, to err is human. Sometimes things seem outrageous. Or let's say appear outrageous. So in your mind, you're thinking, oh, it's got to be a lie. This don't sound right. But it could actually be the truth. Because usually nonsense don't make sense. That's my commentary pertaining to Mr. Smollett. Just a hot mess. So we talked about the Patitos and the laundries. Patitos suing the laundries for information that their son confided in him and the lawyer about the death of Gabby. Just brought your commentary from Court TV pertaining to Justice Smollett. And I want to talk to you about this Ferreter business. Miss Tracy Ferreter asked the court for help, saying she has no money. Court TV is the source. And then I will get into my commentary about the Tuohys and Mr. Oher. Thank you for listening. What a mess. 7 viewing. Hit that like button, everybody.
We, the jury, find as follows. As to count 1, we find the defendant guilty of aggravated child abuse as charged in the information. As to count 2, we find the defendant guilty of false imprisonment as charged in the information. As to count 3, we find the defendant guilty of neglect of a child as charged in the information.
Timothy Farrader found guilty. What did he do? He locked his son, his adopted son, in this box inside the garage. That's what he did. He had it built. You can only lock it from the outside, not the inside. You lock it from the outside. So you lock him in the box in the garage in Florida and give him no control over the air conditioning. You give him a bucket instead of a bathroom. You put a camera in there so you can keep your eye on him. Now he had, they made their arguments. He didn't testify, but 5 years. Got 5 years for it. But he's not the only one being charged with this. His wife, Tracy, as well. Her trial is coming up. And Tracy was at Tim's trial and was there the moment that they were playing one of the videos from the camera that they put in there. Now, we couldn't show the video, but you can hear it. And in it, you hear her listening as she's yelling at their adopted son. Let's take a listen and a look at her.
What do you need? You're at the pajamas? Is the sun right there? Do you hear me? Oh, here we go. Back to this where you can't talk. You're a middle school boy. You want to do all these things. You want to do chess. You want to do things. But you can't talk because you got caught being dishonest. Okay. Well, that's fine. Guess I'll just keep giving you more chances. Every day, new chance for even though doesn't care. He doesn't want to be nice. And I went, well, let's let do this. Oh, let's let him bring some food because I think he's going to have a good night. Oh, let me do everything for okay. Oh, can't talk because he got in trouble because he got caught. It's like, give me a break. Start owning up to what you're doing, and then try to fix the problem, like we keep telling you.
All right, some of the beeps you heard, she was saying his name, so not necessarily swearing at him in all those moments there. Here we go, folks. Big motions hearing coming up on December 6th, and she wants to be declared indigent at this point. So they went from $1 million house in Palm Beach County, Florida, in Jupiter. They're in a rough spot now, apparently claiming she has no money, but she's got a trial and there's a lot at stake. Let's bring back in our think tank, Wont, Darnell Cross, and Jennifer Brandt. Jennifer, her husband didn't testify. No explanation, firsthand explanation to this jury about why they did what they did. I mean, the facts were, there was no way around it. I mean, they had the box built. He was in there. He told the jury all about it, yet he didn't explain to this jury why he did it. Does she need to explain to the jury why she did it?
I think her explanation, Vinny, yes, I think she will testify, and I think her explanation will be that it was all her husband. It was, she was under his control. He was abusive. Who knows what she's going to come up with? But then when you hear a tape like this, I mean, the whole case is so upsetting just because these people clearly did not know how to parent this child, and what they did is just tragic, and it's terrible. And that they allowed this to go on. The child was certainly troubled. He had his issues, but to treat him like this and to put him in a box, and she sounds like she was part of it, and recording these things and yelling at the child and going along sort of with what her husband was doing. So, and maybe it was her idea, who knows, but I'm sure in her, as a part of her defense, she's going to try to blame it on him and say that it was all him, and you know, she just kind of had to go along with it. She didn't have a choice, and I think that's her only defense after hearing some of this.
Al, I didn't understand why he didn't testify. I think and I know everyone has the right to remain silent, right? Prosecution's got to prove it, but they're going to prove it. They got pictures of the box. They've got the son's going to testify and tell the jury everything. So that's a given. So throw that out the window. You need to explain it. Explain what you did before you built the box. Explain why you built the box. Explain what life was like. Explain your concerns. Show that you're a human being. None of that in the first trial, Al.
Which is a huge mistake. You have to take a situation where you're going to make the defendant a person who's put into a position with a child that he can't control and that he loves, and he's trying to control them. And that maybe he used the wrong, forms of punishment to do this, but that the motive was to make the kid good, to be able to make him a productive member of society.
Or to protect your other children. I think that was part of the motivation too. You got to tell the jury.
And also that. But listening to her ranting and raving on that poor kid, I mean, Jesus, I would probably rather live in the garage than live in the house. That's for darn sure. I mean, she's just horrendous. So if she doesn't get up there and talk about what she was trying to do, and this is hard love, and this is her trying to make him, a better person, they're going to be, I mean, I don't even think the jury's going to have to get out of the box to deliberate. They'll just go, yep, show of hands, guilty.
Darnell, I mean,
no excuse for any of it. I mean, it's
there's no excuse, but there has to be a defense.
That's right.
And Darnell, the defense to me is get up on the stand and explain why. Take us into your situation. Like, what were you going through? Because otherwise the jury is going to see this guy doing this, going to hear them yelling at the kid. They're going to hear the kid screaming when he's locked inside. I mean, you only have 20 seconds though. Sorry, Darnell.
All right, well, just real quick. So Charlamagne the Golf from the Breakfast Club says that the craziest people in the world come from the Bronx and all of Florida, and Florida is jumping. And I just want to say that there's a group called the Cordies, led by Michelle and Julian, that have been begging for an autographed picture of Vinnie Politan, and they are amazing fans of yours in Pensacola, Florida. So that's what I have to say for this. And there's a real group called the Cordies. I never knew that. And attorney Michael Skyber has been texting me that you have to look into the Cordies. They want your picture, Vinnie, so I need an autographed picture.
All right, I'll look at
Court TV. I wish they had a longer segment on that. But anyway, that's about a 7-minute video. Let's dissect what was said by Court TV. If you need verification for this information, it's in the YouTube queue and also my community page. Where do I start? Oh, mercy. Does she have a job? Is she currently working? Does she still have her house, Miss Ferreter? Does she have money in the bank account? If so, how much? Did she ever work? Don't know. Where are the children? The other children, are they still in her possession or are they living with somebody else? Why didn't they give this kid back to the state? He was such a problem. You hear this guy saying this in his commentary. Oh, the defense can say, oh, we know what was done was wrong, for her because she's next to go to trial. But this is the only solution they came up with. Not the best, but, he was wayward. He was out of control. So will she testify? What did the little boy do so terrible for them to put him in that box? How did the other children feel about seeing and hearing a brother in the box? We also heard commentary from the sister who testified that they didn't know when the wrath was going to stop from the father, because once he got crunk on this kid in the box, he still would be hollering, screaming, and lashing out, walking away from the box in the garage. When you look at the setup of the garage, you can't help but say to yourself, dear God, what kind of person would do this? What kind of people would do this? A bucket to use the bathroom? No heat, no air? And we know garages can be very hot. And Florida is a warm state. So do the math. Camera in there to see him do what exactly? He's not going anywhere. Or do you want to see if he break out to go somewhere and get help? Voila. Cruelty. And And in the end, it's not going to really matter what he did. Talk back, lied, stole. He probably came from troubled people. Spirit was trouble when you got him. I don't know, because I don't know the age. Because I didn't follow this case. But the method was wrong. And Mr. Ferder now is doing 5 years for that decision. The wife is going to be going to trial soon. She's telling the court she doesn't have money. So I'd like to know, where is the money? Was money spent on him, a private attorney? Why they don't have any money? Where's the house? Do they still own the house? Did they sell the house? Where is she staying? Where are her kids? Will she get the same justice as the husband? Will the jury find favor in her to let her go or just give her probation? What will be the turnout for her in court? Does she have any regrets? Does the husband have any regrets? What's scary to me is the fact that this little boy still favors the husband. The father, he talks positive during court. He talks positive about him, that he felt like it was his fault. He was a problem kid. He doesn't have any issues with the father. He sees him still in a positive image. Dear sweet boy, how could you have favor for this man and this woman? Because to me, they're a package deal. There's no one without the other. You ride the ride, you take the charge. Hey, that's Tennessee law. You stood in the room, you're guilty. You drove him to the house, you're guilty. You sat in the car, you're guilty. And my thing is, if somebody told you what they did afterwards, you just as damn guilty. Some things you don't ride the ride on. And this is one of those times. So whose idea was it to put the child in the box? Don't think it will matter. Will she testify against her husband? Turn on her husband during court when it's her turn to say, yeah, it was all his idea. I went along with it. I thought maybe this was going to work. Make him change, blah, blah, blah. Will 12 members of a jury favor her? Will she testify to why the child was put in the box? Because you hear during Mr. Ferder's trial, he didn't testify. He didn't explain why. He just, stirred off in space while people were giving their testimony, which made me think he's just blank, empty. And perhaps this thing that's married to him, she's just as empty, emptier. And this is what I keep telling you about true crime. There's always somebody that holds the secret, holds the lie. Enablers, just as guilty. She's on tape, hollering and screaming at a boy in a box. So she had knowledge. So in the end, it's not going to matter who came up with the idea. The point is, they knew he was in there. They made the box and they ordered him in there. And what I find interesting is when the child realized what was going on, the conversation itself. Hey, we got a surprise for you. Hey, we're going to put you in this little room in the garage since you won't mind. Why didn't the boy take off running? See, stay woke. Did he attempt to run? No, please don't put me in there. I'll be good. I'll behave. I'm sorry. Did he cry in the box? Cry a lot in the box? Did he think he might die in the box? Did they ever think that the boy might die in the box? See, this is why 5 years ain't SHIT to be incarcerated for doing this. Because I see bad kids all the time. Wayward children, however you want to word it. Talk back to their parents, loud, rude, curse. Ain't nobody locking them in the damn box. Ain't nobody beating on them, hurting them. Parents just shucking it off, laughing it off, or complaining to the next person. Yeah, he's wayward. Yeah, she's wayward. They won't mind. They won't listen. You won't be in my house. But this is where people have got to decide to seek out an alternate plan when the children become disruptive. As you also heard in this commentary, did he ever try to hurt the other children? Was this one of their reasons for locking him in the box? Did he ever try to coerce the kids to do wrong, the other siblings? Was he really a bad influence on everybody? I don't know, because I wasn't there. I don't know what problems he had. I don't know if he came from degenerate family members. It's in the bloodline. Bad vices, bad behavior. Because a lot of things about all of us is genetic, whether we want to believe it or accept it or not. But this isn't how you handle an alleged wayward child. a child who lies, manipulates, whatever it is that they felt like he was doing. They didn't lock their other children in the box, did they? I'm supposed to believe that their other children were perfect beings. They never got into trouble. They were never into mischief. See, people pick and choose how they want to treat their children versus other people's children. And in the end, these people had no business rearing children, period. Because in the end, as they say, it doesn't matter if they never mistreated their own children. The point is you have the propensity to be cruel to a child who is not an adult, who can't defend himself or herself. You have the upper hand. So you doing all this mischievous behavior against a child is wrong. And this is not even your biological child. So you had to have known, hey, when you're getting somebody else's child, there's possibly going to be baggage that comes along with getting that child. You don't mistreat them. 9 times out of 10, they already came from a jacked up environment. And even if it was your biological child, this would not be the answer. This is not the answer for any child. Let me make that clear. And once again, they don't need kids. They didn't need kids because preferential treatment or not, if you will abuse a child, whether it's yours or not, biologically, you took the child in, so he's yours, you are not fit to raise children. You have no business with a child. You have no business with an animal. I see it all the same. What will happen to this lady? Where are the other children? Who has custody of them? Financial state of this lady, funds in the bank. Can she afford a lawyer? You just don't want to spend the money. Do they still have a house? Is it sold? Foreclosure? Will she get a court-appointed attorney? And will a jury of her peers favor her, let her go? Or they will say, no, you're just as dirty as your husband, and we're going to give you jail time as well. I'd like to see what she's going to say, if she's going to testify and implicate her husband as the ringleader and that she went along with what he wanted. Imagine that. Will they stay together, whether she gets time or incarcerated? Will they stay together? Because in crazy cases, you can never tell if the couple will stay together or not. 5 years is not a long time, but it's enough time for somebody to forget about you and move on, especially if she remains free on bond up until her sentencing, trial or whatever, however the trial pans out. Found guilty, not guilty. Let's just say she's found not guilty. Will she still support her husband? Stay married? Will she move on with her life? Will she be able to get her kids if she doesn't have them now? So these are a lot of questions to ask. I'm going to put a poll up pertaining to Ms. Farida as well on my community page. Take the poll, be heard. Next subject matter, Michael Oher and this debacle with the Tuohys. Woo! I've been so stressed the past couple of days and weeks. I can't even gather my thoughts to even do these live streams, but I said I got a little bit of decent news today from trying to take care of business. I said, let me go live where I can halfway navigate, bring you all the said information. Court TV was the source of that, everybody. I put up a poll 2 days ago pertaining to Derek Chauvin. Do you believe that John Tursak allegedly stabbed Derek Chauvin to avoid being released from prison because he feels there will be a hit out on him once released? 33% of you said yes. 19% said no. 33% of you believe he stabbed him for another reason. And then 16% of you are not sure why he stabbed Mr. Chauvin. As most of you know that Mr. Chauvin was released from a hospital and sent to a neighboring facility. His attorney thinks that he should be moved to another prison Should he remain where he is or sent back to the original? And I don't mean the original that was in the Midwest. I mean the one that he was in when he got stabbed, because I think they might be next door to each other. So what should happen with Mr. Shaw as far as this prison sentence? 17% believes he needs to remain in the neighbor facility. This is where he is right now. 39% of you believe he should go back to the original one in Arizona where he actually got stabbed. 44% of you believe he needs to be sent to a new prison in or out of state. So the majority of you believe, out of 107 votes, thanks for voting, believe Mr. Chauvin should be sent to a new prison in or out of state. Lady Lolo responded, I think no matter where he goes, he's going to have enemies in danger because of what he chose to do. Queen gave a heart, and Queen also replied, yes. Yeah, I believe that. It won't matter where he goes. I don't know the real reason why he was stabbed, but 20 plus times is a lot. Now for my next subject matter pertaining to the Tuohys and Mr. Michael Oher. As for the Tuohys, it doesn't take 16 years to pay anyone $138,000 funds that you initially received in 2007. That's my personal opinion. Why does it take 16 years to pay somebody money that's owed to them? That's why I don't believe none of these things that the Tuohys are saying about Mr. Michael Oher. And we're going to get into that here in a minute. Did Michael Oher know at the time that he signed a conservatorship document, not adoption papers? 14% said yes, 63% of you said no, and 24% of you said not sure. So 14% of you believe he did know he was signing a conservatorship. 63% of you said no, and I kind of weigh on, I don't think he knew. Even if he found out sooner than what he revealed to the public here recently, as I've told you before, when people find out things, they don't necessarily have to come forward and tell us. I think it was legal wranglings. He kept going to them about the money. They didn't pay up, so he decided to sue, and that's what's going on right now. So what I brought you the other day is that there are court filings to show how much Memphis couple paid Michael Oher from the Blindside profits, and that the couple say they will remove any references to Michael Oher being adopted from their websites. And that's what he's wanting from the court, is to put an injunction in order that they don't mention anything about him being their son or his name mentioned in speaking engagements or anything personal pertaining to their dealings with him. Let's get into this content pertaining to Michael Oher and the Tuohys. And once again, if you'd like to donate to this great network, $BeganJi 129 Cash App, stickers and chats are welcome during the live stream. People.com is my source of information pertaining to this debacle. Sean and Leanne Tuohy shared screenshots of alleged text messages sent to them by Oher in which he calls them thieves and demands they give him $15 million. The story that inspired Oscar-winning film The Blind Side took another dramatic turn Monday as Sean and Leanne Tuohy accused Michael Oher of extorting them for millions of dollars, threatening them if they did not send him the money. In a legal filing Monday, attorneys for Sean, 64, Leanne, 63, shared screenshots of alleged text messages sent to them by Oher, 37, in which he calls them thieves and demands they send him upwards of $15 million or else he go public with their dispute over the financial earnings from the 2009 film. In a legal response Monday, the Tuohys said Oher should be denied a motion for a temporary injunction in the case, that the family does not owe him more money, and claimed that the now retired NFL star has repeatedly threatened Sean and Leanne Tuohy with menacing text messages and emails that demanded millions. In an attached exhibit Monday, the Tuohys attorneys shared screenshots of some of the texts they said Oher used to allegedly extort the family. If something isn't resolved this Friday, I'm going to go ahead and tell the world how I was robbed by my supposed to be parents. That's the deadline. One alleged text from Oher reads. It was 10 million now. I want 15 after taxes, another alleged text reads. The Tuohy family did not include their responses to Oher in the screenshots submitted in Monday's filings. So why not? Why didn't you show that? Because people are going to want to see that. Oher did not immediately respond to people's request for comment about the filing. A rep for the Tuohys pointed people to the court documents when asked for comment. Needless to say, the menacing demands were shocking and hurtful to the Tuohys, who had always treated Mr. Oher with kindness and love. The Tuohy family's attorneys write in Monday's filing. Oher recent filings have disputed that sentiment, however. Oher said in August that he recently discovered he was never legally adopted by the Tuohy family and that he believed the family knowingly pocketed money owed to him from the family. Oher claimed he only learned that he'd been placed into a conservatorship with the Tuohys when he was 18 years old. Earlier this year, a discovery that his attorneys described as crushing to the now father of two. Mike didn't grow up with a stable family life, his attorney J. Gerard Stranch told ESPN in August. When the Tuohy family told Mike they loved him and wanted to adopt him, it filled a void that had been with him his entire life. Discovering that he wasn't actually adopted devastated Mike and wounded him deeply. The conservatorship had given the Tuohys permanent control over Oher's financial and medical decisions, a puzzling legal action typically reserved for adults who cannot medically make decisions for themselves and require a guardian, legal experts previously told People. The conservatorship was terminated in September. However, Oher still demanded the family both file an accounting of his earnings from the Blind Side film and pay him an alleged remaining sum of the money he believes he still owed. He has also called a decision to split profits equally between himself, the Tuohys, and their two children unfair. His November 30th petition claims, without Mr. Oher, there would have been no movie. The Tuohy had it backwards. 80% of the proceeds should have gone to the petitioner and 20% to the Tuohy family. Despite being legally required to by the court, the Tuohys have never filed an accounting of Oher's finances since he agreed to be placed under the conservatorship in 2004. When they finally did so last month, the Tuohys claimed they had transferred $138,000, $311 and 1 penny to Oher in 10 installments beginning in 2007. The family's accounting claimed that its final payment of $8,480.10 was paid to Oher on April 17, 2023. The couple says in Monday's filings that after Oher began refusing payments, they deposited his funds into a bank account in his son Michael Oher Jr.'s name. The movie went on to make $330 million at the box office, plus more as the film gained even more notoriety when it was nominated for Best Picture at the 82nd Academy Awards. Sandra Bullock won the Oscar Award for Best Actress for her portrayal of Leanne. Oher later filed an objection to the Tuohys' accounting and claimed the documents they filed last month are contradictory, confusing, fake in material ways, and wholly inadequate to account for the assets, quote unquote. Since Oher's initial legal filing in August, which publicly revealed that he was not actually adopted, the Tuohys have defended their public presentation of their relationship with the former NFL star. Sean Tuohy told the Daily Memphian in August that he and Leanne were devastated by Oher's public accusations and legal filings, saying it's upsetting to think we would make money off any of our children. He also called Oher's allegations that the family siphoned money owed to him from the Blind Side insulting. Since Oher's initial filing in August, attorneys for the Tuohys have claimed the couple never meant to describe their relationship with Oher as his literal adoptive parents. I find that very interesting, despite doing so for years publicly, including in Leanne's published books. The use of the term adopted was always meant as a colloquial sense to describe the family relationship the Tuohys felt with Mr. Oher. The family's attorneys wrote in Monday's filing, adding that it was never meant as a legal term. Now, that's insulting. See, this is tit for tat. Well, we called him adopted, but we really didn't mean it like that. You're only saying that because he's suing you. See, that's why I tell you these people, because there's something fraudulent with them. In a September filing, they claimed there was never an intent to adopt Oher into their family and alleged the conservatorship was arranged as a way to skirt NCAA recruiting rules so that Oher could attend the University of Mississippi, Sean Tuohy's alma mater, to play college football without violating any eligibility rules. Oher was drafted by the Baltimore Ravens in 2009 and went on to play 8 seasons in the NFL, becoming a Super Bowl champion in 2013. So let's talk about this BS with Mississippi, University of Mississippi. What were the guidelines for him to become a student? Because you never explain. I've seen this mentioned in an article months ago. Why don't you explain what the guidelines were? To skirt the NCAA recruiting rules. So what were the rules pertaining to signing a child into football or basketball or whatever? Explain it to us. I don't know much about recruiting. I know about applying to school and college. That's been many years ago. So explain to me, what is it that he didn't have that you decided to say he's our son to get him into this school? Because what I have to ask myself is the obvious. There are poor people going to college every day. Poor people on scholarships. Poor people going on grants. Poor people playing for major schools such as the NCAA, and they don't got a mama, a daddy, a cousin, nothing. So I'm going to say it one more time, Mr. and Mrs. Tuohy. What is it that you were trying to skirt pertaining to the NCAA rules? Because I'm confused. Because what many of us are going to say, well, I don't know what you're talking about, and I don't think it makes any sense because there's working class poor people who are granted scholarships every day. Did he get a scholarship? Let's ask that question. Did he get a scholarship, a full ride to college? Number one. Because if he got a full ride paid for by the school to play football, what did you need to skirt in order to get him on the football team? I don't understand what they're saying. This shit don't make no sense to me. They claim they never intended to adopt him. They alleged the conservatorship was arranged as a way to skirt NCAA recruiting rules. So what were the rules? What? He had to have a mommy and a daddy? He had to have a legal address? What? Because I'm confused. Because I'm thinking about all the other nationalities of students that go off to school to play sports. And I'm trying to figure out, how is their situation any different than whatever the hell he was going through in order to go off to college and play on the NCAA team. I don't understand what the hell you're talking about. Because I believe it's probably some BS. Until I hear otherwise, it's BS to me. The fact that you want to say you really weren't trying to adopt him. You were just using it, as he's close to the family, I guess. But you ain't never said that before in your book, the movie, and in your speaking engagements and talking publicly about Mr. Michael Oher. You find it insulting that he says you all owe him money. Leanne was devastated by the accusations and the legal filings. It's upsetting to think we would make money off of any of our children. Well, you did make money off of Mr. Oher. And as he's saying in the petition, 80% of it should have went to him because the story is about him. The movie is about him. The book is about him. It's not about you. Because in the end, it's true. If you had not ever met him, took him under your wing, what would you have written a story about? What rights to a story would the production house have gotten? What would the movie been about? Excuse me. He is 80% of the story. Really, you need to just say 90%. Because you didn't go out in the world and make a movie just about your life with your other two children. The fact that you split the money with your children shows me that you were up to no good. And that's one of his claims as well. Why was the money split with your other children? They were minors at the time. I'm assuming he was the oldest. So if he met you, got entangled with you all 18 in this conservatorship, I'm assuming your children were younger than that. You're over your children. You're the guardians of your children. So the money still would have been in your pocketbook, your account. Checkmate. See, Queen listens. You want to say, oh, we split all that money up between everybody from the movie. But the one part you've left out is that the money split wasn't split with all adults. You took a cut, your kids took a cut, and then Mr. Oher allegedly took a cut. He is right to some degree. Why would your children need a cut? The story isn't about them. And then they were minor children, I'm assuming. So any monies would have gone in your pocketbook. You would have been a conservatorship over their checkmate. The fact that when the brother gave the interview, the white brother, he was very solemn in his words. And that led me to believe there was more to the story then. Because he never said an ill word about Mr. Michael months ago when he did an interview with the news. Basically, he said he knew this was coming. You knew what was coming. Yeah, some funkiness. 2007 to 2023, April. It took you 16 years to pay $138,000. I want everybody to think about that for just a second. Why would it take 16 years to pay somebody money about a story that's pertaining to their life? How does that make any logical sense? And yet you want us to believe I gave him tens of thousands of dollars in college. We didn't receive any of his NFL pay. We didn't orchestrate anything with his medical. We never took anything that belonged to him. But you did when you took that money from the movie, because the movie is basically about your life and rearing him. And whatever your wranglings were, I didn't watch the movie. Many people probably say, what? You didn't watch The Blind Side? No, I did not. But I got enough sense to know it doesn't take 16 years to pay somebody money. It doesn't take 16 years to pay $138,000. One content I brought to you all via source is that 2 of the checks didn't even clear to his bank account. Then you say, oh, well, we put the money in his child's account because he refused to take the payments. He refused to take the payments because he felt like these people are just nickel and diming me what you've done for years. Now, your allegations is also that he became broke at some point after the NFL, and this is when he tried to extort you for the $15 million. You've also released text messages, but you haven't released your responses to the text messages. Are we going to find out that you erased your responses? Because, see, that's the one thing people have to think about when somebody's showing you a text. Are they also showing you their response? Because you can erase a response. All you have to do is hit on the text and delete it. So why are we not seeing your response? Responses. Is this an attempt to extort money from these people? Did he willingly try to get money from them because he lost money in the NFL or spent up his money? I'm going to say this. I don't know if he tried to extort them because he was broke. But the one thing I do know is the obvious. The Tuohys had no business splitting the check with the other 2 children. Because in the end, you telling the world that this is your story. How you came to meet this kid, how you took this kid under your wing, how you signed a conservatorship now after the fact that it's out, but not a legal adoption. Then you want to say you're devastated, you're stunned, you're insulted. But why would this man think he was adopted when he wasn't? That's number one. Why didn't you tell him the truth? And as I told people before, because he didn't come out talking about it every day years before, that doesn't mean he didn't know about it. He could have just acted like he didn't know. But due to the fact he'd been trying to get this money from them, he decided to come on and tell the truth and say, yeah, I just found out I'm not adopted. So let's ask that question. When did he actually find out he was adopted? How long has he been trying to extort $15 million from these people? When did the nasty text start? When was the last time he sent a text to them? And how the fuck do you think $138,000 is equivalent to these movie house making $330 million? You've done speaking engagements. There are royalties to be earned from the movie, which I hear he hasn't got none of that money. The children have, and you all have. So no matter how you weigh this story, how you think these are such great people, there's still some fraud in the story. Because as I said, you take away the lawsuit from him, you take away what he has said about these people, you still can't logically explain $138,000 dispersed in 16 years. That makes no logical sense. And why would they put the money in his son's account? Because he's refusing to pay. there is something fraudulent. And why would you need conservatorship for a grown man? As a judge said, I don't even know how this paper even got signed legally. Exactly. 16 years to pay Mr. Michael Oher, $138,000. You never legally adopted him, but had him sign the conservatorship paperwork. What was the purpose of the document? Because in the end, he was a grown man when he signed the papers allegedly. Why did you split the money with your children when they were minor children and you would be over their monies anyway? I also got wind that he gave you $2.5 million to invest for him. Did he ever receive payment for the $2.5 million? What was the return, Mr. Sean Tuohys? Do you have documents to show that he gave you $2.5 million since he's so broke and wants to embezzle or blackmail you all for money? Did he ever receive royalties from The Blind Side, Mr. Michael Oher? I don't believe that he did. Did you all give him a cut from your speaking engagements pertaining to your life and your dealings with Mr. Oher? I don't think that you did. Who was the judge that signed off on this paperwork? Who were the people who wrangled this paperwork? Because we now know it's not an adoption. The fact that now you want to say, we really didn't mean that we adopted him. It was only intended for legal implications. Legal implications for what reason? You mean legal implications now because he's suing you. And the fact that Michael Oher was an adult when he went off to college, you are allegedly helping him. Your claim is that you spent tens and thousands of dollars on him in college. Well, isn't that what you do with people that you love and you care about, whether they are biologically your child or not, adopted or not? You care about them, so you buy gifts, pay for trips, this and that. So what are you trying to say? He owes you for being an 18-year-old kid without financial help from his own family, parents? You did it for your other children, did you not, when they went off to school or whatever endeavors they encountered in life? Are you asking your children to pay you back any monies that you spent on them going to school, college, soccer, little league? And I'm going to say this for the last time. $138,000 paid up in April of this year, allegedly. Why in the world would it take 16 years to pay somebody $138,000 from an alleged $700,000 made from the movie? $400,000, whatever amount you want to say you got. And I do believe Mr. Oher is right by saying the children should not have gotten any money, because in the end, the story was about him. And your children were minor children. So what use would they have for getting a check from the movie? That makes no sense. The allegation that he has received no royalties, but your children and you all have. Why is that? I don't know how this all came to be, this conservatorship business, why you felt the need to have him sign those papers. If it has anything to do with getting him into the college, because you have yet to explain what the relevance is of the conservatorship document versus the NCAA regulations. Because as I said, many poor kids have played ball for NCAA schools without a two-parent home, without any monies to pay for schooling. I'm trying to figure out, what does the NCAA have to do with the conservatorship paperwork? Because who's getting ready to go verify where somebody stayed when they're applying to college or being offered a scholarship? Well, your house has to have a front door and a back door. It's got to have a lawn. You got to have a mom and dad live here. Who cares? People homeless have gone to college. We've learned of that. So I'm trying to figure out, what's the big deal with the NCAA? What are the restrictions that you felt like you needed to have this boy sign, this man sign those papers at the time? Explain it. Why did you split the money with your children who were minor children? Because you would have been over the money anyway. So in the end, you did get all the money. Stay woke, everybody. Why did it take you 16 years to pay $138,000? Did you give him monies from the royalties? I don't think you did. I think everything was signed to you all's name from the get-go. The movie was released in 2009. You're telling the public that you started paying him in 2007. So naturally, that would have been when you got the money. You've gotten the bulk of the money pertaining to the life of Michael Oher and your dealings with him. You have been on speaking engagements. You have a website, and I don't think you've given that man $1 from speaking engagements. Any money generated from your websites pertaining to talking about this man in this movie. He alleges he's given the husband $2.5 million to invest for him, and I don't think he's ever gotten a return, and I think he was in his feelings. I think he did find out he didn't get adopted, and that was the start of him asking you all for monies. And no matter what text messages you all show of him allegedly trying to extort $15 million from you, you can't logically explain your children getting a cut from the movie. They were minor children, which means you have been over the money. That means you got the bulk of the money from the movie. And why in the hell it would take you 16 years to pay him? You also allege that he didn't want the money. Well, if he didn't want the money, why the fuck were you paying him 16 years in? He's asking for an accounting of the money. You've yet to bring that information forward. Of course not, because you don't want that shown. I believe there's some nefarious dealings with the Tuohys and Mr. Oher and this movie. I believe they paid him how they saw fit. Because you have to ask yourself this. At some point, he was a man from the beginning. So he would have needed money for school, a car, these things. They kept what they wanted, the bulk of the money, because they felt like it was their story, their rights to the story. They didn't feel like he was worthy to get a big chunk of the money. And I think that conservatorship was possibly more to their benefit, even though they say they never got anything from him as far as his pay from the NFL or any other payments as work. But the conservatorship really doesn't make any sense because he was an adult when he signed it. As the judge has said, I don't see how this document ever came about. Exactly, because he was a man. And that goes to his commentary to a news program that he felt like you all thought he was illiterate or slow. And that's what makes me think this is why you had the conservatorship drawn in the first place. Because at some point he had to know how to read and write in order to even go to college, to do homework, to do the schoolwork, to do his papers. So what am I to believe? He never wrote one paper in the 4 years of attending school. Somebody wrote all his papers. Somebody read all his book work to him. Stay woke now. And all these excuses you're now giving is tit for tat. You got to say, well, we didn't really mean we adopted him. We really didn't have no intention on adopting him. We're just using it in colloquial terms. Oh, well, you know, he like a son to us. That's what we meant. That's what you're trying to say. He was like a son to you, but you didn't adopt him. But yet he thought he was adopted. See, there's a big difference. And you're only saying this now because he's suing you and allegedly have been trying to extort you for money. And then once he came public, which he said he was going to do, and he has done it, now it's, oh, we had no intention of adopting him. Oh, we were just saying, you know, he like our son, blah, blah, blah. But you weren't saying that before to the public before the lawsuit and the allegations were public. He was a son to you. You did brag about him, talked about him. You did profit off his name. And that's the gist of the story. Without Michael Oher, there was no story. Checkmate. So all this BS people are commenting about trust funds for his son and all that. How's somebody going to set up a trust fund for Michael when they couldn't even pay him all of the damn money? I don't have to read anything. How about that? I don't have to read anything. I'm going by logic. It doesn't take 16 years to pay somebody $138,000. That's my point. If you are a millionaire and you have money in your bank account, you've gotten a lump sum of money from a movie house, they cut you a check. They have willingly admitted it took them 16 years to pay him. What part of that story you didn't hear? That's out their mouth. It's not out of my mouth. Doesn't take 16 years to pay $138,000. And if the man says he didn't get any royalties, who am I to say that he did? I don't know. I haven't seen a receipt that he got paid royalties from the movie. I haven't even seen a receipt for the $138,000. So when I see a receipt, Nosy Parker, then I'll say he's a liar. When somebody can show a receipt to the $2.5 million he gave Sean, I'll ride on that. But I find it strange a person wants to come forward and say he's a liar and show text messages that he's attempted to extort them, but yet you don't show your responses. Why not? You don't have anything to hide. He's a liar, then you shouldn't have any problem showing your responses. And they didn't have any right giving their kids part of that money. For what? They were children. They were still their guardians. So it didn't make any sense to say we split the money with the kids when the kids were kids. That's stupid. And if that's the case, anybody could come up and say, oh, you mentioned my name in the movie. Oh, you said something about me. Where's my cut? See, a lot of you don't listen. When you write a book or talk about anybody in a book, a storyline, a movie, anybody can come and sue you to say, you were talking about me in that movie, that book, and want a cut. So that's my point to why it didn't make sense for them to say, oh, we gave a cut to our kids because they were minor children. They would have been up under him. You were their guardian, so why would you cut a check to them? That makes no sense. And if you talk about the butcher, the baker, the maid, they could easily come forward and say the same thing. Well, you talked about me in the book, the movie, I want some money. I need a cut. Because people do it all the time when they're mentioned in a story. And it doesn't have to be anything necessarily deviant or nasty or rude that a person said anything bad about them in a book or a story, but they feel like, well, you're talking about me. So it's easy for them to say, oh, this is just our story. This is our story with Michael, but that's the point. He's the main part of the story. So he should have been the one to receive the most money for the story. Because in the end, I think you all took this story to someone. I don't think Michael did it on his own because allegedly he was slow. And I believe that is what you thought of him, that he was a slow person. He couldn't navigate for himself. He needed your help. You spent tens and thousands of dollars on him, but that's your choice. He didn't put a gun in your head and say, hey, take me in. Hey, adopt me. Hey, spend money on me. So I'm not going to sit here and bash this man. Bring me a receipt. Bring me a receipt of all the money you spent that you feel like you have to now tell the world, oh, I spent money on him. Now you're trying to retract. He really wasn't your son. We never intended to adopt him. Well, I think that's obvious. We know that now. Bring a receipt when he knew that he was not adopted. Some say, oh, he mentioned it years ago that he knew he wasn't adopted. But the point is, did he dwell on it? Because just because I found out something does not mean I have to come tell you, the public, when I found out about it. He may have found out years ago that he wasn't adopted, but he waited till now to tell because he feels jilted. And I'm not in his pocket. I'm not in his bank account, nor am I in the bank account of the Tuohys. I'm going by their own words. From 2007 to April 2023, we paid him $138,000. He refused a few of the checks, so we put the money in an account for his son. None of that makes any sense. Because it doesn't take 16 years to pay something that you originally got in 2007. And that's my point. That's my damn point. And you got to show proof. He told you, oh, I don't want the money. You keep that money. I'm in the NFL. I don't need that money. Who ever heard of such? Somebody telling another person, no, you keep that money. Even though the story's about me, you keep that money. I don't need it. Because the point is, if that's their version, that he told them he does not need the money, why would you pay him anything for 16 years? I'm not a dummy. I know BS when I hear it. And once they admitted that it took them 16 years to pay him a lousy $138,000, that told me everything I needed to know. Because if he didn't want the money, he would have never taken the money. Why would I take the money if I don't need it? So their version is he didn't need it, he didn't want it, but yet it took you 16 years to pay. And my understanding that two of the didn't make the account, that might be the money that he refused. I assume it probably bounced because I know that people don't tell everything. And my understanding, he has not received royalties from the movie, since you know so much. The children have gotten royalties and the Tuohys, not Michael Oher, allegedly. So as I said, the information being revealed is coming from these parties. So that's all any of us have to go on. It's what they're saying. But I'm not getting ready to call him a liar until I see otherwise. Yeah, I'm choosing his side because I feel like it. Because you can't in one hand say he didn't want the money, yet you still were giving him the money. That doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to give somebody something that they said they do not want. And I do believe they took the bulk of the money for themselves. They didn't split shit with their kids because they were the adults of their children. And so long as you have a minor child in your household, you are the guardian. So I'm supposed to sit here and believe they put a separate amount of money into accounts for their children while they were raising them? Bring a receipt. Show it. Show us a receipt of your children's account where you took money from the blind side and put in separate accounts for the children. Bring a receipt. The text messages being shown, show what you have responded to pertaining to Michael Oher trying to extort you for money. Bring a receipt. And that's my commentary. That's how I feel about it. And until I see otherwise, I'm going to ride on what he's saying is the truth. Because in one hand, I'm going to keep saying this. You can't say the man said he was broke, and this is why he's suing me. But then in the same hand, you're saying, well, we were trying to give him money, but he didn't want it. Well, then which is it? He was broke. He tried to extort us for $15 million. But yet he said, I don't want the money. So when did he say he didn't want the money? Back in April? March? Because he wasn't getting what he wanted? And what's the timestamp on the text messages that he's trying to extort these people? 2023, 2021, 22, what? That's my commentary. This commentary is pertaining to the Tuohys' $15 million extortion they claim was exacted by Mr. Michael Oher, the son they did not adopt. They've released text messages without a response on their behalf, which I find very suspect, because who does that? Allegedly, they paid him $138,000 as of April 2023. He refused, I believe, 2 payments, and they said they put it inside of an account for his son. So now we have to ask that. Is it an account that they made for the son, or the account already existed by Mr. Oher or the child's mother? Did Mr. Oher ever receive royalties from The Blind Side? Did he ever receive monies from their speaking engagements or any event where they spoke of Mr. Oher? He has also asked that they not mention his name on the website or any entity pertaining to a story about them. They want an injunction pertaining to the lawsuit against them by Mr. Oher. What will be the gist of the story? It is what it is. Also brought your commentary pertaining to the Patitos suing the Laundries. They believe they had knowledge that Brian Laundrie told them that he had murdered their child. Also brought you an update pertaining to Mrs. Ferreter. She'll be going to trial soon pertaining to the boy in the box. She's claiming to the court that she does not have any funds. She doesn't have any monies. So I'm assuming she wants a court-appointed attorney. And also Justice Smollett. Judge has denied an appeal pertaining to his sentence. So he is allegedly will have to do the 5 months mandated from the original trial. Will he go to jail? Or will he get lucky again and not have to go to jail? He owes the city of Chicago big money, restitution and fines, which is total about $145,000, which I believe he owes the city of Chicago. That's what I believe. I'm going to see if there's an update pertaining to Mr. Oher. Hey, Lady Lolo, how are you? Saw you on AB's channel earlier. I was trying to listen in to what Mr. AB was talking about. That Jody Sue mess. Good God. I want to see if there's anything new pertaining to these people. Still the same information. And when you look here, it says, in addition to owning and operating 60 plus fast food restaurants, Tuohys has over 20 years of experience as an NBA broadcaster for the Memphis Grizzlies. So he's not hurting for any money. But yet, take him 16 years to pay somebody $138,000. Whatever. I was trying to see if there was a court appointment today pertaining to this nonsense. See, it says it right here. They never adopted him. When he turned 18 in 2004, the petition says the couple tricked him into signing a document, making them his conservators, which gave them legal authority to make business deals in his name. Used their power as conservators to strike a deal that made them and their 2 birth children millions of dollars in royalties from Oscar-winning film that earned more than $300 million, while Oher got nothing for a story that would not have existed without him. In the years since, the Tuohys have continued calling 37-year-old Oher their adopted son and have used that assertion to promote their foundation, as well as Leanne Tuohy's work as an author and motivational speaker. So he learned about the conservatorship February 2023, to which he consented on the basis that doing so would make him a member of the Tuohy family, in fact, providing him no familial relationship with the Tuohys. Now, this article was written a few months ago. ESPN is the source if you need verification. Now, it says Sean Tuohy told the Daily Memphian website that he was stunned by Oher's allegations and said the Tuohys didn't make any money off the movie, only a share of proceeds from the Michael Lewis book, which was the foundation for the film. So let me say this. Book, movie, whichsoever, so somebody wants to come in my chat and correct me. The point is, if the man says he hasn't received any royalties from the movie, the book, any entities where his name is mentioned by the Tuohys, why would I think that he's lying about that? That's my point. And it doesn't take 100 damn years to pay somebody $138,000. Because you obviously got the money, all the money at the same time. Why would you not get the money at the same time? It doesn't take 16 years to pay somebody $138,000. That's my opinion. It's self-evident. You really don't even have to have an opinion about it because it doesn't make any logical sense. It's upsetting to think we would make money off any of our children, but we're going to love Michael at 37 just like we loved him at 16. So I guess they met him at 16. So all this is strange to me. So as most of you know, the conservatorship has ended. He wants them to pay his fair share of the profits, as well as unspecified compensatory and punitive damages. Since at least August of 2004, conservators have allowed Michael specifically and the public generally to believe the conservators adopted Michael and have used that untruth to gain financial advantages for themselves and the foundations, which they own or which they exercise control. The petition says all monies made in said manner should in all conscience and equity be disgorged and paid over to the said ward Michael Oher. This is the petition. He was a rising high school senior when he signed the conservatorship papers, and he has written that the Tuohys told him that there was essentially no difference between the adoption and the conservatorship. They explained to me that it means pretty much the exact same thing as adoptive parents, but that the laws were just written in a way that took my age into account. Oher wrote in his 2011 best-selling memoir, I Beat the Odds. So the person in the chat who was saying he said what he said in the book about the conservatorship, well, I'm going to say this like I said in my commentary the other day. If I'm not a scholar of legal wranglings, I don't go investigate adoption paperwork. I don't go and investigate conservatorship paperwork. Then it is what it is. As I said before in my live stream pertaining to the subject matter. At 18, I didn't know anything about conservatorship and what it meant. So why am I going to believe he would have known what it meant? And as a judge just said, I don't still see how the paperwork got signed, period. Whether he thought it was adoption papers or not. Because you don't know what they told him and how they worded it to him to where he said, oh, okay, that's cool. As I tell people, what I don't dwell on 20 years ago don't mean I don't have to dwell on it 20 years later. You could have tried to explain to me what it was, and I went along with the program and said, oh, okay. But then as time went by, I started seeing other things that wasn't right, because in the end, you don't know what he's giving the Tuohys. You don't know that he didn't give them money to invest and he was expecting a return from that. How do you know? Because that's the whole point. Everything that's being said is a version by Mr. Tuohy, Mrs. Tuohy, and the version from Mr. Michael Oher. For all I know, he did give them money to invest. He never got a return. And it does make sense that if you're going around the world speaking about this man on websites, foundations, and everything, why would you not give him something? I'm just saying. Why would you not? As it says here, but there are some important legal distinctions. If Oher had been adopted by the Tuohys, he would have been a legal member of their family, and he would have retained power to handle his own financial affairs under the conservatorship, or surrendered that authority to the Tuohys, even though he was a legal adult with no physical or psychological disabilities. Exactly. So one would have to say, what was the purpose of the document? Because that's what the document says. You can Google it. It's for people who are incapacitated to take care of their legal affairs. He may not have been a Rhodes Scholar, had a high IQ, but it didn't mean he couldn't, read and write? So there was a reason for them doctoring up this document. What was the damn reason? Because many people can't understand why they had him sign the document. And he was 18. There's no logical reason. For what? What was the reason? He didn't have anything. He didn't have any money. He didn't have anything. Let them tell him, oh, we paid for everything while he was in college. Okay, so that goes back to the original statement. Why would you need the document then? He didn't have anything. He wasn't worth anything. So what would be the purpose of the damn document? So this document is for them to have power over his financial affairs under the conservatorship, or surrendered that authority to the Tuohys, even though he was a legal adult, as I said, with no psychological, physical disabilities. Petition alleges that the Tuohys began negotiating a movie deal about their relationship with Oher shortly after the 2006 release of the book, The Blind Side, Evolution of a Game, which chronicled the story. According to the legal filing, the movie paid the Tuohys and their two birth children each $225,000 plus 2.5% of the film's defined net proceeds. So it's still a bit of money. 2.5 may not be a lot to some, but it's more than zero. The movie became critically acclaimed blockbuster, reportedly grossing more than $300 million at the box office, and tens of millions of dollars more in home video sales. The film received Oscar nomination for Best Picture and Best Actress trophy for her portrayal of Leanne Tuohy. While the deal allowed the Tuohys to profit from the film, as somebody wants to sit here and try to tell me they didn't get no money. Yeah, okay. The petition alleges a separate 2007 contract purportedly signed by Oher appears to give away to 20th Century Fox Studios the life rights to his story without any payment whatsoever. See, each article has something different. If you need verification for what I'm reading to you, ESPN is the source. So if you have a problem with what I'm reading, I say you take it up with ESPN. The filing says Oher has no recollection of signing that contract, and even if he did, no one explained its implications to him. So that's the point I've made as far as signing documents. Everyone does not understand legal wranglings. This is why they always tell you to have an attorney present with you when you sign documents, as so it could be explained to you. And you also have to hope that even if you hired an attorney, that he or she is being honest with you about what you're signing. So now we're going from a book deal to now a separate contract here that he signed, which he gives away to 20th Century Fox the life rights to the story. Okay? So one deal is a book. This deal is to make the movie. And maybe he did not sign it. And if he did sign it, maybe he didn't understand what he had signed. So once again, as I said, did he have a lawyer with him? Because I didn't even hear about this other second contract. So that's the point. Did he have a lawyer when he signed the documents? He's saying, I don't have a recollection of signing that contract. And if he did, no one explained the implications to him. The deal lists all 4 Tuohy family members as having the same representative at Creative Artists Agency, the petition says. But Oher's agent, who would receive movie contract and payment notices, is listed as Deborah Brannon, a close family friend of the Tuohys, and the same lawyer who filed the 2004 conservatorship petition. The petition alleges Brannon did not return a call to her law office on Monday. So did she do something illegal? Because now this information is saying that all of the Tuohy members had the same representative at Creative Artists Agency, the petition says. And Mr. Oher's agent, who would have received contract and payment notices, is listed as Deborah Brannon, who is also a close family member of the Tuohys and the same lawyer who filed this 2004 conservatorship paperwork. In the past, the Tuohys have denied making much money from the movie, saying they received a flat fee for the story and did not reap any of the movie's profits, and what they did earn, they added, was shared with Oher. We divided it 5 ways, the Tuohys wrote in their 2010 book, in a heartbeat, sharing the power of cheerful giving. Oher's court petition says he never received any money from the movie, even though he long suspected that others were profiting, according to his attorney, J. Gerard Stranch. Whenever Oher asked questions, he did not get straight answers, his attorney said. So now I'm supposed to believe that he's talked to these people, asked them questions about the money from the movie, whether it was a small amount or not, and he didn't get an answer. So that's the whole point. You are entitled to believe what you want pertaining to the Oher story and the Tuohys. Who said what, who did what, who signed what. But as I said, until I get further notice that all this is make-believe and made up, that he has received money from the book, the movie, flat fee or not, commission, whatever, as the Tuohys have mentioned, then I'm going to ride on what he's saying, that he has not, until I see otherwise. And since the film's success coincided with the start of his lucrative NFL career in 2009, Oher did not take the time to fully investigate the deal until after he retired in 2016, Stranch said. Oher eventually hired a lawyer who helped him uncover the details surrounding the movie deal and his legal connection to the people he believed were his adoptive parents. His lawyer unearthed the conservatorship document in February, and Oher came to the painful realization that the Tuohys had not adopted him. Mike didn't grow up with a stable family life. When the Tuohy family told Mike they loved him and wanted to adopt him, it filled a void that had been with him his entire life. Discovering that he wasn't actually adopted devastated Mike and wounded him deeply. So I'm going to say this during this conversation, and then I'm not going to continue talking about this subject matter for this evening. Did or did they not tell him, we're not adopting you, but we are wanting you to sign this conservatorship so we could be over your life wranglings? And he understood it to be a non-adoption paper, but a conservatorship. Number 2, was the conservatorship thoroughly explained to him that it's not adoption? We're not legally adopting you. It's just us being or having the access to navigate on your behalf financially. Did he even know what actually a conservatorship paperwork entailed? Because this information is saying he did not know what it meant. And as it says in the movie, as the movie portrayed the story, the Tuohys adopted Oher, a poor, virtually homeless, academically challenged black teenager. They made Oher part of a functional family for the first time. They helped him catch up in school, taught him the basics of football and how to harness his physical skills, putting him on the road to sports stardom. The truth, however, was more complicated. Oher certainly led a hard-knock life growing up, but he also had the smarts, pluck, and plenty of help from the Tuohys and others to rise above his circumstances. And I think that's where he has a problem also. He has mentioned that. The fact that he feels like these people felt like he was dumb, not smart. That's his opinion. I can't tell that man how he should feel or how he is perceived by these people because I wasn't there when he met these people. They took him under his wing. What he found out later down the road, what a lawyer uncovered, I'm not there. I can only repeat what they're saying was unearthed. And I'm not here to say that what was unearthed is a lie. You're entitled to your opinion, but I'm not going on a limb to say that. Oher was one of 12 children born to his mother who struggled with drug addiction before his 11th birthday. Oher was placed into foster care where he bounced around numerous homes and at times lived on the streets. Although he was a capable student, he attended 11 schools in 9 years and repeated both the first and second grades, leaving him behind academically. So that goes to show you right there. 11 schools in 9 years, suffering academically. Who's to say what his skill set as far as deciphering information would be at 18? And I can tell you now, if the Bible is still complex to me at 52, I would assume legal paperwork would be just as complex at 52 because everybody cannot decipher legal documentation. Everybody knows that. That's why you get an attorney who can explain it to you, explain your rights. This child repeated first and second grades. That's bad. His fortunes changed after a friend's father, impressed with Oher's inner drive and focus, introduced him to the principal of a private Christian school in a prosperous Memphis neighborhood. Oher began attending the school in the 10th grade. Even as his home life remained chaotic, he was a sports prodigy, excelling in track and field, basketball, and football, a game he had studied for years. He began playing football for his new school in the 11th grade, quickly establishing himself as one of the nation's top offensive linemen, and college scholarship offers poured in from big-time football programs across the country. Because of his unstable housing situation, Oher frequently stayed over at the homes of his classmates, including the Tuohys, whose children attended the school. The petition says that the Tuohys forced a closer relationship with him once Oher's athletic prowess drew wide attention. They invited him to spend more nights at their spacious Memphis home and took him shopping. Eventually, they asked Oher to move in. They encouraged him to address them as mom and dad and said they planned to adopt him, the filing says. So now I'm supposed to say also what he thought or what was said to him by them as a kid. That's all lies too. So everything Michael Oher has to say about the Tuohys from the time he met them is all a lie. I'm not going to do that. Oher was delighted with all that at the time, his lawyer said, and fully trusted the Tuohys. Oher went on to play college football at the University of Mississippi, the Tuohys' alma mater. He was a two-time All-American and a first-round pick of the Baltimore Ravens in 2009. So maybe that's where this NCAA BS comes in, that they needed this conservatorship to get him into their alma mater. Because I still don't understand why he needed to sign this paperwork in order to get into the college. And nobody's explaining it. After the success of The Blind Side, however, suspicion slowly eclipsed Oher's trust of the Tuohys, his lawyer said. Mike's relationship with the Tuohy family started to decline when he discovered that he was portrayed in the movie as unintelligent, Strange said. Their relationship continued to deteriorate as he learned that he was the only member of the family not receiving royalty checks from the movie, and it was permanently fractured when he realized he wasn't adopted and a part of the family. This is why I said what I have said before. This man, 9 times out of 10, has harbored feelings ill toward the family about the movie portrayal. Okay? That's first and foremost before you even start talking about money. So if I'm watching a movie and I'm looking at how I was portrayed, I have to also say somebody gave fruition to this image of me. And that other people around the world are seeing this image and assume that is me. So naturally, he would be in his feelings about that. That's in a league on all of its own. That has nothing to do with money. Now you factor in the money, the royalties. The man says he hasn't received royalties. Who am I to say that he didn't receive them? I'm not getting ready to sit up here and say, oh yeah, he got paid, when I haven't seen any documentation that the man got paid. And for the 18th time. Why would it take you 16 years to pay $138,000 from a $300 million movie? Book deal, royalties, speaking engagements, so on and so forth. For years, Oher had chafed at how The Blind Side depicted him, saying it hurt his football career. It clouded how people view him. He had said that based on the film, some NFL decision makers assumed he was mentally slow or lacked leadership skills. People look at me and they take things away from me because of a movie, Oher said to ESPN in 2015. They don't really see the skills and the kind of player I am. So here you have the man feeling some type of way, speaking public about how he was portrayed in a movie, and maybe this has affected him since seeing the movie. And maybe he felt ostracized, and maybe he didn't get other opportunities in entertainment and other dealings, as far as commercials and this and that, because people thought he was slow from what they learned of him in the movie. So you can't get mad at him if that's how he felt. The perception that was made about him. As we've learned, everything's a version. I'm not here to say he's slow. I don't know him. But these are his words. This is how I felt at that time, and this is how I was portrayed in the movie. So who am I to tell him he shouldn't feel that way? I can't tell that man that. For their part, the Tuohys agree that Oher always had what it took to succeed. If there's a fundamental misapprehension about Michael, it's that he needed saving, the Tuohys wrote in their book. We discovered that underneath his shyness, his foot shuffling, and his head ducking, he had a tremendous will to determine the course of his own life. For years, Oher has said he was content to live with the myth created by the movie, reasoning that its inspirational message outweighed the pain inflicted by what he saw as its inaccurate portrayal of his life, but that has changed. There has been so much created from The Blind Side that I'm grateful for, which is why you might find it as a shock that the experience surrounding the story has also been a large source of some of my deepest hurt and pain over the past 14 years, Oher wrote in his book, When Your Back's Against the Wall, released last week. Beyond the details of the deal, the politics, and the money behind the book and the movie, it was the principle of the choices some people made that cut me the deepest. ESPN is the source of this information. So as I said before in my commentary, thank you all so much for joining me, it's that everything's about perception. Everything's about a version. You're entitled to believe whatever you want to believe pertaining to the Tuohys version, the version from Mr. Oher. But I had said before, and it seems that's where this story is going. He's been feeling ill towards the Tuohys since the release of the movie. Okay? And that has nothing to do with the money. How I'm portrayed, how I'm viewed is, as I said, a separate entity. And I said before, he may not have talked vehemently about his feelings toward the Tuohy. He may not have talked vehemently about the movie and the portrayal of himself, but it's been festering. Then you count unearthing monies that this family allegedly got, and he felt left out, didn't receive monies, possibly signed a document, not really understanding the legalities of the document. Maybe he was told he was adopted. See, you don't know because these are two different versions. You don't know what was said because we weren't there. I don't know what these people told him. Hey, yeah, we want to adopt you. Hey, we're going to adopt you. Then they show him the paper. Oh, this is just a piece of paper for us to be over your legal wranglings, blah, 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 financial wranglings. But then, as I said, that makes no sense because he didn't have anything. So what would have been the other ulterior motive for drawing up the document that was not an adoption paper? That's where this alleged NCAA business comes in that I don't understand. You brought him this document to sign to what? Get him into playing ball at this school. So what is it, as I said before, were the guidelines that you needed to draw up this conservatorship paper, if at all that has anything to do with it? Because I don't understand it and they haven't explained it. But in the end, as I said, I'm not here to tell that man how he should and should not have felt. He's given commentary that he has felt grateful for some things that happened and being in their peripheral, but he also felt like he was thought of as lesser than. And that's something no dollar amount can cover. If he felt slighted in any way, portrayal in the movie, people's perception of him, commentary about him, not receiving full due pay from either the book and or the rights to the movie, there's no way I can sit up and say he's wrong for expecting that. Because in the end, the story is about him. And somebody has to come forward to say, well, the allegations made by Mr. Michael Oher are false and negligent. And here are the receipts to show we did give him a small percentage of the movie rights, or he signed away his rights to the movie, so we don't owe him anything. This is what was paid to the Tuohys and their children via the book and also the 2.5% from the movie. Here are the receipts to the royalties that the family received over the years up until present day. That's what I'm looking for. Until I see a receipt that says Mr. Oher is lying, he's received all payments from the book deal, the movie rights, speaking engagement, so on and so forth, then I will ride on what he is saying is the truth, and that's my personal opinion. Because I'm going to say this, and I think it's obvious. Nobody has brought forward a receipt. Not the movie house, the movie agency, the lawyer who drew up the paperwork. She's not commenting, which she should be the main one that wants to comment because she's the one that drew up the damn papers. The lawyer and also his alleged agent. And as I said before, anybody can hand you a document and say, hey, this is for this, and then you sign it foolishly without consulting with an attorney. And why would he consult with an attorney when he thinks these people like him and care for him and have his best interests at heart? He wouldn't do that. He would probably feel ashamed to say, well, I need to go get a lawyer. I need to go get a lawyer to look at these documents, just to make sure I'm signing what you say I'm signing. He wouldn't have done that. I don't think he would have done that. And as I said, a lot of people who are way older than 18 still don't understand the wording in legal documentations because a lot of the words are very confusing. And I can't see an 18-year-old kid being able to read a document and actually know what it means. And if I trust you and believe in you, and you're saying, here, these papers are for this, if I believe you, I'll sign them. And he said he has no recollection of signing the rights away to the movie. And if he did, it wasn't explained to him. So that's his version. And I'm going to ride on that until I see otherwise. As far as the $15 million extortion plot, I'm not here to say that he didn't tell them he wanted $15 million. But I also find it strange that they're showing these text messages to the public, but they have not shown their responses, which that makes no sense. Why not? And did he not receive royalties from the movie? The small percentage as it was is, number one, did he sign his rights away to where he would not receive any payment? or he signed a document saying he would get a small percentage but never got it. And that this lady was the one maneuvering on his behalf, this agent / friend of the Tuohys, and also the lawyer who drew up the paperwork for the conservatorship. See, something's all fuzzy, funky with all that to me anyway. Because she's going from lawyer drawing up documents to now the agent for the family for the book movie deals. But this guy don't have any recollection of signing a contract or it being explained thoroughly if he did sign it. It's all strange to me. And like I said, I don't understand the conservatorship paperwork being signed at 18 because he was a legal adult. And allegedly he doesn't have any mental disabilities or physical disabilities or had them at the time. So there was no need for him to even sign the conservatorship paperwork. So one would have to believe these people went to him with this paperwork for some other reason, either a nefarious reason or some reason. And he signed them, not knowing fully what it meant. And if allegedly he was slower academically, why would anyone think he actually knew what the damn paperwork was at 18? I don't think he would have known. I just don't. And I'm not here to say that he was dumb at 18. I'm just saying, I'm going by what this information is saying. He was not a Rhodes Scholar. And when you're talking about, as I said, legal wranglings, he may not have understood what he signed, if he indeed he did sign it. I'm not here to say he signed it or didn't sign it because I wasn't there. I'm just saying I smell something funky with this story. That's my personal opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. And I'm going to keep riding the ride. It doesn't take 16 years to pay $138,000. This is why I formed the opinion something is not right. Because it doesn't add up to me. You get one lump sum of money 16, 17 years ago, but it takes you 16 years to pay it all off. And it's only $138,000. That makes no sense to me. Why would it take anybody that long to give somebody money that you allegedly said they didn't want? That makes no sense. And nobody can make me believe that makes any sense because it doesn't make any sense. It's illogical to me. Because my thing is, if you tell me you don't want the money, why am I going to continuously keep trying to put it into your bank account? That makes no sense to me. I'm not going to keep sending the check. And that's just common sense to me. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you, Leo, for stopping by. That's my update pertaining to Mr. Oher and the Tuohy debacle. The other updates were pertaining to the Gabby Patito storyline, her family, and the Laundries. Justice Smollett and Mrs. Ferreter. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $ Big Angie, 129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are always welcome during the live stream. When I get another update pertaining to this mess, I will post it to my community board and or put up a poll. Free will, free thinking. That's me. But my spirit tells me something's off with this story. And that's just how I feel about it. And as I said, if I get information that documents have been revealed to show all monies paid to Mr. Oher by book deal, movie deal, then I could say, okay, he was paid. But until I get a receipt, I'm not banking on anybody paying him all of the just money. And I'm still going to say this about splitting that money with the kids. I don't think that was right. That makes no sense to me. There's something off about that. This woman representing all these people in the family on a version that they gave a book. So that makes no sense to me. For what? You write a book and everybody else has to sign paperwork, contract on a book. Never heard of such. Because people write books every day and talk about people in the books. And nobody else was confer to as far as saying, well, hey, Angela mentioned you in the book. We need your permission to talk about you in the book. When naturally a person may say, well, what is she saying? Because if it's something negative, I want to get paid. That's my point. So why would children need to be getting a paycheck from a book? It makes no sense to me. That's why I said there's something off. And I knew something was off when I first heard the story before I got all these details. But once I got the details, the children were paid. That's not right. Because they are the parents. So they would naturally get all the money anyway. The story's not right. And maybe he's been angry all these years because of how he was portrayed in the movie. And he felt jilted. And he felt like he didn't get his just due. So I'm not here to say he don't deserve that damn money, because I believe he does. And I don't care what he wrote in the book. I don't care what he said about knowing this and knowing that. I think he's been angry a long time, and he feels jilted. He feels slighted. And that is why he asked the people for the $15 million. And as I said, if they can provide a receipt of what he signed, all payments made to him from the movie, book deals, I'll roll with it. Thank you for joining me. You all have a wonderful week. Check my community board for the set updates and movie of the week. And I will be back with more stimulating conversation and content. You have been listening to The Vault XL. Thank you.